What if the people who once lived as demons are the only ones stubborn enough to die as heroes? Most stories treat redemption as a clean conversion. Leave the darkness, become the light, earn the armor. Episode 19 of Yoroi Shin Samurai Troopers refuses the tidy version. It places former demons, still carrying the scars of self-interest, against a divine gatekeeper whose ice can freeze them from the marrow outward, and then asks whether hero is a title you claim or a refusal you keep performing even when your organs are shutting down. The contradiction is sharp. They are told they are already full-fledged heroes, yet the only proof they can offer is the refusal to quit while the cold takes them. That tension between what they were, what they are told they are, and what they choose in the moment their strength fails, drives the entire hour. This is a high-stakes confrontation episode that intercuts brutal present-day combat with the quieter, harder work of becoming someone worth fighting for. The tone moves between icy menace, training room friction, and a hard-won collective resolve. Its central conflict is not simply, can they beat the monster, but whether a group that once fought only for itself can still find a reason to stand when the cost is their lives. The episode is interesting because it treats heroism as a practiced stubbornness rather than a sudden moral awakening. The episode opens on residual tension from a prior loss. A character is still processing the death of a samurai trooper who was as much a samurai trooper as the rest of us. The survivors look forward with grim determination. They will stomp the divine world. The language is big, almost performative. It immediately establishes the emotional baseline, grief mixed with defiance. Cut to Lady Segume and a subordinate. The subordinate presses her on the plan to obliterate the humans and remake the planet. He notes that the armor of the Supreme Emperor is the true objective, yet questions whether she still has the strength to wield Lord Yatagojin's power, given that she began life human and cannot overcome her natural lifespan. Segume's reply is cold and absolute. She has not abandoned the planet's rebirth. Cleanse this world. The exchange frames Segume as both maternal figure to her own warriors and existential threat to the human side. Her human origin is not softening. It is a vulnerability the subordinate is willing to name. An emergency transmission interrupts. Divine warriors are concentrating in Area B. Instructor Sonata and the samurai troopers are dispatched. The tactical question is immediate. Why concentrate rather than split up and overwhelm? The implication is that Segume is orchestrating something larger than a simple assault. Gaimei of the four beast warriors arrives in sacred beast form. He is fast, arrogant, and explicit about the hierarchy. Humans are 10 billion years too green to challenge the divine world. He identifies himself as the mightiest gatekeeper. The fight that follows is not a clean duel. Gaimei's weapon freezes from the inside, sapping strength and threatening organ failure. The troopers attempt their supreme arts early. The results are insufficient. Gaimei mocks them. The armor of the Supreme Emperor is not enough because no human can master a god's armor. Reinforcements arrive in the form of the 10 warriors. They have not yet fully learned their own supreme arts, but they buy time and share critical information about the ice effect. The original fighters begin to fail, cold seeping into bone marrow, the growing realization that this may be where they die. Parallel to this, a quieter conversation occurs between Segume and Shimi. Shimi reaffirms absolute loyalty and love. Segume makes a request she would only ask of him. The exact nature of the request is not spoken on screen in the subtitles, but the gravity is clear. Intercut with the battle are training flashbacks of the 10 warriors. Daytime training under a harsh instructor who repeatedly insists the point is not winning or losing but unlocking supreme arts. Nighttime, the trainees themselves continue alone. Doubt surfaces. They went from demon to human and are now expected to be heroes. They are beaten black and blue. Perhaps they chose the wrong path. The counter-argument is simple and fierce. If anyone claims they are weaker without a fallen comrade, that comrade will hear them laughing from the afterlife. They train harder. The words of their supreme arts appear on their armor. Galactic firmament, mirror flowers, water moon, shade of green leaves, morning phoenix, cloud dragon, wind tiger. They receive personalized items from the others, tacky to some, deeply human and motivating to others. The message delivered with the gifts is unambiguous. Samurai troopers fight for what is right. They are already full-fledged heroes. Back in the present, the freezing warriors choose the stubborn path. They will not make anyone happy, but if they die, they will die struggling so hard that the survivors will have to laugh at how unwilling they were to quit. The supreme arts finally unlock under the pressure of near death. One after another they are called mirror flowers, water moon, galactic firmament, shade of green leaves, morning phoenix, cloud dragon, wind tiger. The power shift is palpable even in dialogue. Gaimei is forced onto the defensive. The decisive strike, Supreme Emperor lands. Gaimei falls with a final recognition of what he failed to understand about himself and about Segume. Aftermath is exhausted relief. The survivors are alive because the 10 warriors intervened. Banter returns, nose-swelling jokes, denials of sentiment, signaling that the group's emotional armor is still intact even after the near-death experience. They have cleared one checkpoint, 3 more remain. The episode closes on new terrain, a collapsed bridge that was deliberately set, and the reappearance of Ramaga, promising to claim their lives. The title card for the next episode, Duty, arrives over the line, armor races through your heart. The core group of samurai troopers begins the episode carrying unresolved grief and a performative forward momentum. Their desire is survival and victory. Their fear is that they remain fundamentally the same self-interested beings they once were, incapable of the selflessness heroism seems to require. Their strategy is collective stubbornness. Train harder, refuse the narrative of weakness, turn near death into the catalyst for the arts they could not unlock in safety. The turning point is not a single speech but the cumulative weight of the 10 warriors' presence, the memory of the fallen, and the physical reality of the ice. By the end they have not become different people so much as people who have chosen, under pressure, to act as if the better story about themselves is true. Gaimei functions as both physical and ideological antagonist. He is the gatekeeper who believes hierarchy is absolute and that human or formerly demonic origins disqualify mastery of divine power. His confidence is genuine until the supreme arts prove otherwise. His final line suggests a late, incomplete recognition that his understanding of loyalty and purpose was narrower than Segume's. Segume remains largely off the battlefield yet central. She is simultaneously the maternal origin of the 4 beast warriors' identity and the architect of planetary cleansing. The subordinates' challenge to her remaining strength and her calm refusal to abandon the plan keep her motives opaque and therefore threatening. Shimi's absolute devotion underscores the personal cost her followers are willing to pay. The 10 warriors serve as both tactical relief and thematic mirror. Their own struggle to unlock supreme arts under an uncompromising instructor parallels the main group's crisis. Their gift of the personalized items and the explicit statement that the others are already heroes function as external validation that the protagonists have been reluctant to grant themselves. The dominant theme is the transformation of self-interest into stubborn, collective purpose. The episode does not claim the characters have been purified. It claims that the refusal to quit, while freezing, while doubting, while remembering they once fought only for themselves, can itself become a form of heroism. Evidence runs through the training nights, the near-death declarations, the sequential unlocking of the arts, and the final banter that refuses to linger in solemnity. Secondary themes include loyalty as both strength and potential blindness, Shimi's devotion to Segume, the troopers' loyalty to one another and to the fallen, the cost of divine power when its wielder retains a human lifespan, and the practical mechanics of becoming stronger, repetition, shared hardship, and the decision to train when no one is watching. The episode largely supports its central claim: the arts only appear under genuine extremity, but it does not fully resolve whether this form of heroism is sustainable or merely a glorious final stand. That question is left for the remaining checkpoints. The intercutting of present combat with the training flashbacks is structurally effective. The arts feel earned rather than sudden. Dialogue carries both the arrogance of the divine side and the messy, half-joking determination of the human side without collapsing into pure exposition. The decision to let the protagonists nearly die before the power-up lands gives the climax weight. The refusal to sentimentalize the aftermath, nose jokes instead of speeches, preserves character consistency. Segume's larger plan remains so abstract that her scenes risk feeling like obligatory villain check-ins rather than active pressure. Some of the training banter risks repetition. The meathead gorilla exchange and the uncool item teasing are functional but familiar. The ice effect is explained clearly, yet the exact physiological stakes could have been sharpened earlier so that the organ failure threat lands harder when it is voiced. The episode also leans heavily on the "we're already heroes" statement. It is powerful once, slightly less so when echoed. A tighter link between Segume's human origin and the protagonist's former demonic nature could have deepened the thematic symmetry. The request Segume makes of Shimi is left dangling in a way that feels more like setup for a later payoff than a fully realized moment in this episode. Why do the divine warriors concentrate in one area? The episode itself flags the tactical oddity. The implication is that Segume is staging something, but the precise scheme is not yet revealed. What exactly did Segume request of Shimi? The subtitles establish the gravity and Shimi's willingness. The content is withheld, presumably for a later episode. How did the 10 warriors unlock their arts in time? The training montages show the process. The present-day crisis supplies the final catalyst. No external lore is required for the basic causal chain. Is Gaimei's final recognition about his own identity or about Segume's true nature? The line is ambiguous by design. Both readings remain open. The sequence in which the freezing warriors decide they will die struggling so hard the survivors will have to laugh is the emotional emotional peak. It is not a grand speech about justice. It is a collective shrug toward glory and a commitment to stubbornness. The subsequent cascade of supreme art names lands because the groundwork of doubt, night training, and near failure has been laid. The training night conversation, "We just went from demon to human, and now they expect us to be heroes," is quieter but equally precise. It names the identity crisis without resolving it into easy self-acceptance. Gaime's introduction and the first demonstration of the ice effect establish stakes cleanly and give the later power-up a concrete threat to overcome. Episode 19 asks whether people who once lived for themselves can still choose, in the moment their bodies are failing, to fight as if someone else's future matters more. It does not answer with a clean conversion. It answers with the sequential naming of arts that only appear when the alternative is death, and with the refusal to let the aftermath become solemn. The checkpoint is cleared. 3 more remain. Armor races through the heart, not because the heart was pure, but because the people inside the armor decided, while freezing, that quitting was the one thing they would not do. That decision is the episode's real victory, and its unresolved cost.